Ladies and gentlemen, we made it. We're back. Super Bowl Sunday, Super Bowl week. We are here. We are live going over our Super Bowl predictions. Going to talk a little bit of shit with you. You know how we do it here. This is the Three Man Rush podcast. I'm your host, Landon Oliver, here with my two co hosts, Andrew Scott and Big Jared Holly down at the bottom. What is going on, fellas? We are finally here.
We are here indeed, man. The most important show of Super Bowl Media Week is here. Everybody, all the, 14, 15 people that are watching, everything they've been waiting for all week, we're finally here to bring it, man. It feels good to talk Super Bowl. And just, if you are concerned about how accurate our predictions may or may not be, just don't go back and watch the last show. That's all you got to do. And then you don't have to worry about how accurate we may or may not be. That's
Oh
not
no, the
important.
last show was fun though. The last show was
But
fun.
it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was that.
And I mean, to be fair, one of my Super Bowl predictions is true. So, I got one team in there at least. The
Yeah,
other
you
one,
did.
not so much. So, Jared, what's up?
Well, I'm sad actually.
Why?
A lot of times people get excited about Super Bowl. Like to me, it's the end. You know what I mean?
It's like almost like a funeral if your favorite team's not in it.
Well, yeah, and as a Colts fan, obviously I wasn't prepared for this date anyways because there was no chance we were gonna get to the Super Bowl this season. But
hey, man, you never know. If A. Rich would have stayed healthy, you never know, man.
I know.
You never know.
Yeah, but the worst part of it is just being a degenerate. There's only one game. Like that's the worst part.
Where's the slate at?
Right. This is the casual day for like casual football fans. They're like, throw a $5 bet in or whatever. Me, I'm like, God, it's one game. Gator J.
What's up, Gator J? Love you, man. Yeah, see, I feel you, dude.
Like to me though, like this is where like your bets get weird though, because like you got prop bets on like what's the first song Usher comes out with? Is Travis Kelce gonna propose? Like you got
the whole Gatorade shower bet.
Like what color is the Gatorade that they're gonna pour on Andy Reid at the end of the game? Like there's all kinds of shit like that. So yeah, first I mean I don't know if you guys want to talk about the playoffs and what exactly has led us up to this point.
Yeah, we haven't talked to each other since before the playoffs started, so why not?
Yeah, I mean, so first off, I know you guys were big on Dallas, and they got absolutely I know Jared was. They got absolutely waxed out the building.
For me, so much wasn't being big on Dallas. It was just I needed to pick somebody other than the fucking 49ers, and we see where that got me. So
I just didn't want to be a sheep and say Baltimore or San Francisco. Like that was more or less.
If you would have sheeped it out though, you'd have been halfway right.
You would have been sitting where I'm sitting right now.
Yeah, Atlanta's the only one that got even one team in the Super Bowl.
We all should have been smart enough to know that Kansas City was going to be in the Super Bowl. Like that's.
I think I was one of the only people that actually picked Kansas City to be Buffalo, though. So
you were, even though they've done it every single time.
But then I said that they were going to lose to Baltimore, so I'm not going to give myself.
I mean, to be fair though, we didn't have all the information presented to us at the time, though. Like because if before that show, I would have found out that Taylor Swift has made the NFL $360-something million in the last few months.
Oh man, I'm gonna hit end stream if you start some.
I would have 100% went with Kansas City.
Right.
Like
he's 100% right.
You didn't have to know the exact dollar figure to know that Taylor Swift being an NFL fan has been very lucrative for all involved. That's a very commonsensical thing.
Almost $400 million lucrative. Like if I would have known that, I would that's a shoe in.
Look, if we're gonna go down the NFL's rigged rabbit hole, I'm just gonna hit end stream real quick because I'm not here for that. the sports are not rigged, man.
Too much money.
Stop it, Landon. You've been a sports fan for too long to believe that shit.
There's too much money involved these days. I think it is. I'm just saying.
You guys are totally right.
I'm dumb enough to say that I think it's rigged and still bet on it.
Yeah, I don't think it's hard rigged. I don't think it's like the outcome of the games are decided before the game's played. I don't think anything like that happens. But I do think there are questionable moments in games that are beneficial to certain teams that are
I don't
not.
think that's because the game's rigged, though. I just think that's because a lot of the refs just suck at their job.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there's just certain things like the ref that calls the most home penalties against the home team gets put on the Kansas City game, like just randomly like that.
So
Like
I didn't want to go down. I didn't want to go down this rabbit hole or not, but
here we are, 6.5 minutes in.
We're already deep in the shit. So
I think
oh man,
almost like so. Mahomes Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. He is. Yep. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. I'm not even debating it, but I will say it is getting to the point where, like, on Sundays, even like outside of a Taylor Swift, Kelsey stuff, I almost get more nauseous listening to Tony Romo drool over Patrick Mahomes than what I am at any of this Taylor Swift stuff. Like, it is like
he does that with a lot of quarterbacks, though.
Yeah, he's
no, like it's different with Mahomes.
You basically just said you don't like Landon that much because Landon does the
John
same shit for our show.
Landon
drills over every quarterback on our show. He's the quarterback apologist of our show.
It's
so
different.
You basically just said you don't like Landon.
It's different. Like, it is the John Madden, Brett Favre.
It's different, but it's like the same at the same time.
But what I'm getting at is I do think, like, Lamar Jackson's a 2-time MVP at this point. He's going to be a 2-time MVP.
He'd be playing for a Super Bowl if Baltimore would have just ran the fucking ball.
They ran 6 times. The running backs ran 6 times.
That's what I'm saying, though. Is like they get into that game and they go completely away from what they've been doing the entire year. Just like
it's New England effect.
Like, I mean, come on.
But okay, but so just to entertain you for a second, who in Baltimore is like, the NFL doesn't want us to win this game, so we're going to fuck up our play calling and not run the ball so that the NFL can get what they want? Like, who at Baltimore is cool with that to let that happen?
No.
Is Harbaugh like, hey, I know the NFL wants Swifty and Mahomes in there, and we're controlling this game, so we got to start fucking up our game plan. Like, to entertain this theory, who's puppeting this thing to make it work?
It's a mixture of both. The NFL is definitely
There's no shot.
The NFL is stacking the deck, and the media too. I'm going to go full in on this.
So Skip Bayless is the reason Baltimore quit running the ball.
John Harbaugh, the media hyping up everything, gets in these coaches' heads to the point where they completely change what they do all season long because of the mystique of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has not been great this year.
I don't believe for a single second that John Harbaugh said they're watching Fox Sports and is altering his game plan because of what the media is saying, or watching ESPN and he's changing up his game plan because of the media. I don't buy that for a single second.
A lot of the coaches don't even listen to the media.
That's what I'm saying. They don't give a fuck about what nobody's saying. Like, I don't believe that for a second. There's no way.
We'll see what Shanahan does on Sunday.
Well, Shanahan's known to fumble big games. I mean, I don't think that has anything to do with the media. That's just who he is as a person, and I'm thoroughly rooting for that to happen. But I don't think that's because of the media. I just think that's because,
history.
If you just follow the trends, that's just kind of what we can expect.
I do think they get in their head a little bit. I think players and coaches.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, they're human, man.
I do believe in, like, the mystique of this guy's been 6 AFC championships. The best head coach in football right now is Andy Reid.
Yeah. No, I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
No matter whether they listen to Fox Sports or ESPN or any of those, there's enough talk about it where they can't get away from it.
Yeah, I mean, they're not oblivious to what's
to an extent, though, like, to kind of like counteract that, though, it wasn't even really the Kansas City offense that was doing anything during that game.
No, the offense got shut down the second half.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, it wasn't really like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes like taking over the game. Like,
Baltimore lost that game.
Yeah, it was really like
style, though, because of fear of, like, to me, like, if you had that mystique, I'm not saying they did or not, but, theoretically, if they had that, they should have ran the ball to keep him off the field.
What I'm curious about, I'm up here, and it's on my mind because I'm up here, like, in the Buffalo area right now, and look, the people I'm talking to up here, they're not in a good headspace right now, because they lost to Kansas City again.
They got to blow it up.
Where do the Buffalo Bills go from here, though? Seriously, because
they have to blow it up.
This is now multiple times where they've had to deal with losing this big game in the playoffs against Kansas City.
Well, they can't beat Cincinnati either.
But whenever you say blow it up, though, Fire the head coach. You're not getting rid of Josh Allen.
No, but you got him and Diggs. That relationship is ruined. It's not just a media thing. Like there's no.
You think they might get rid of? You think they might trade Diggs this offseason?
Yeah,
I would. Yeah. I do because what's the definition?
If one of the teams in the middle of the first round if one of the teams in the middle of the first round doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, exactly. If one of the teams in the middle of the first round is willing to trade a first round pick for Diggs and a wide receiver class that is as loaded as it is, I don't know
trigger, but I don't think anybody's going to offer a first.
Maybe not, but I think Diggs is worth the first rounder. I know he kind of tapered off toward the end of the year, but in terms of his talent,
I don't know at his age with his contract. I don't know. Like it's different with guys like AJ Brown because AJ Brown was like 24 years old. Like Diggs is
almost 30, right? Or is he 30 already?
He might actually.
9, I think.
I don't know. I know if I was a contending team, and like if my favorite team was a contending team and needed wide receiver help,
he'll be 31 this season.
I would still give up a first for Diggs. Or I would still want my favorite team to give up a first for Diggs if I needed a wide receiver help.
Yeah, it's just tough too because this wide receiver class in this draft is so deep.
Mm-hmm. But how many of them realistically do you think are again thinking of it from the lens of a contending team, because that's the only team that's trading for a 30-year-old Stephon Diggs as a contending team.
Stephon Diggs that plays in winter weather like he plays in. That's the other
part. Yeah. I don't think weather has anything to do with I don't think Diggs gives a shit about weather.
But you're saying if you're like Detroit,
if you're a contending team and you're acquiring Stephon Diggs, or you're interested in acquiring Stephon Diggs, but you're hesitant to do it because of how deep the receiver class realistically over the next 1 to 2 years, how many receivers in this class are going to be more instantly impactful than Stephon Diggs? I would argue that maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors might be the only two. Romo Odunze might be in there.
Yeah, I would say
and all three of them are going Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. I think they're both top 10 NFL draft picks. And Odunze might very well be too.
I think he's top 10 as well. So
outside, if you're a contending team and you tell me I can get Stephon Diggs for a mid to late first round pick, I'm doing that shit in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer.
That's just me, but I'm not scared off by Stephon Diggs. I know he kind of ended the season on a sour note, but if news comes out that Stephon Diggs wants out of Buffalo, and I'm a fan of a contending team, I'm sitting there like, man, please go trade for Diggs. Let's do this shit.
Well, there's also now too, you also have to think about the fit in the locker room as well. And now this is going to be the second time he's forced his way out of an organization that there's kind of some bad blood there with an organization, and now you're going to be injecting that into your locker room. It was kind of the similar thing with Antonio Brown, Antonio.
No, I want to compare those two together.
No, I'm saying early, with him leaving the Steelers and all that kind of stuff, early on. But I'm not saying he's like Antonio Brown or anything. I don't think either way. I don't think he's Antonio Brown on the field, and I don't think he's as far gone as Antonio Brown is. But I'm saying early on when Antonio Brown, the Steelers are kind of at their impasse, and then he gets traded, and then things just start to kind of taper off, and the fit in the locker room and all that kind of stuff. Now you're sitting there wondering, well, not only is the dude going to be 31, not only do we have to pay him top tier wide receiver money. Now we also have to deal with a guy that's now forced himself out of 2 organizations and left on sour notes. And we're going to have to add that into the locker room as well. So there's a lot more that goes into it other than the Madden aspect of the trade where it's I just get this player for this and that's it.
Right. What do we always say though in terms of sour players or poor locker rooms and stuff? Winning solves everything, right?
Sure
so
does.
if you think you have that culture in place, you used Detroit as an example.
Yeah, but it does. That's the thing that worries.
It does until it doesn't, right?
Solves everything in Baltimore. We're talking about the Buffalo Bills. They haven't gotten over. But dude, it's so hard to win. And New England and Kansas City have completely ruined people's perspective on how hard it is.
Yeah.
Baltimore
had deep playoff runs for 4 years in a row now. That's highly successful in the NFL. That is a lot of winning.
Baltimore proved though this year that you have to go get talent, like in order to get as far as even what they did, and they still didn't get there. But they went out.
Baltimore would be a team I'd love to see go trade for Diggs.
I would love to see him go to Detroit, personally. I think a dome atmosphere with him and Amon-Ra.
I would just like to see Diggs continue to play with a real quarterback. That's all.
Amon-Ra's doing pretty good.
They should. Yeah,
Amon-Ra is doing pretty good, but I can tell you, fantasy managers would not be happy if Detroit went and got Stephon Diggs, because Amon-Ra would still be great because he is a great football player, but
and you got Laporta there.
His counting stats would not look as good if Diggs is there and Laporta in year 2. Like, that's a whole other topic. And we're talking a ton of hypotheticals here. There's been no like firm reports that Diggs wants out or anything like that. This is all just talking shit and conspiracy theories. But
he wasn't.
It is. I think it is fair to wonder though, like what Buffalo does this offseason, because like at some point something's got to give. Like you can't keep losing to the same teams in the AFC playoffs and not hitting a Super Bowl without something crumbling.
Like even with like the Dig thing, is like it hasn't necessarily been the offense that has let Buffalo down in the playoffs against Kansas City.
No, I mean, a couple of years ago, how many seconds did Kansas City have to go down and score?
13.
That's not Josh Allen's fault. That's not Stephon Diggs' fault.
Well, even this year, like Josh Allen was lights out in the playoffs.
Yeah, he was fantastic. Yeah.
And so like you're talking about just like historic level quarterback play from the opposing quarterback, which of course that's Patrick Mahomes, but like Buffalo's defense has let them down more than anything. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily think like you trade Stephon Diggs.
It's not going to fix
replacing that. Yeah, like I mean, there's a lot of aging pieces on that defense, necessarily like along like the defensive line, the DB room, like all that.
They gave Von Miller a pretty nice contract to do nothing.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's what I'm saying too. Like that's kind of goes into like the Stephon Diggs trade is like,
and injuries has been.
It's never just quite as simple as like this guy's a really good player. Let's trade for him, and he's going to be the same really good player. Like it just doesn't work like that. But it's one of those things where like to me, like the defense falls on McDermott because he's a
defensive guy.
He's guy, and that's your head coach.
Your biggest problem right there with Buffalo.
Yeah, and like
I mean, it's the obvious.
That's where I think some changes might need to happen.
Yeah, and what's crazy too is like the head coaches this cycle, like Bill Belichick didn't get a job. Mike Vrabel didn't get a job. Like these are dudes that I think like if you move on from Sean McDermott, like you hire those type of guys. Like if you add Bill Belichick and what his acumen is on the defensive side of the ball, especially stopping Kansas City, there with New England and all that kind of stuff.
Which if they were going to move off McDermott, I think that probably would have already happened this year. Not to say it won't happen next year, but
I agree. But
I think he just needs to do more public speaking, and I think that will definitely reassure his position.
Sean McDermott, motivational speaker seems like one of his strong fronts. I think that's what if the Bills do consider letting him go, I think if he can just get in the room with the front office and give them a motivational speech, I think that might get
like, they're in like a very similar situation to like going back to like no.
Oh, okay. I didn't think there was much similar situation.
No, I'm saying like Buffalo's in like a very similar situation to like what other teams were dealing with New England, like like the Colts, the Steelers, like the Chargers, like in the mid 2000s and stuff, where it's like you're constantly getting bounced one way or another by this same team. Like New England was just running things for the early part of the 2000s, then they kind of had like their long break, and then they started redoing their things in 2014, 2015, all the way till the end there. But it's kind of the same thing as like you run up against these guys like Mahomes, like Brady, that like if they weren't as great as they were, so many other guys would have so many. Like how many guys in I know it's not the same sport, but how many dudes would have won rings in the '90s if it wasn't for Michael Jordan? Would Charles Barkley have a ring? Would
Absolutely would have. That
yeah,
Phoenix team would have had a ring.
yeah, like with Sean Kemp, with the Trailblazers, with Clyde Drexler, would they have had a ring? Like whenever you're going to like these are generational talented players.
Drexler has.
Well, with Houston, but like I'm talking about like with him being the man with Portland, like, and Jordan was gone whenever they won. So
you remember who
that's what I said. Like if Patrick Mahomes retires tomorrow, then yeah, Buffalo has a really good chance next year.
Yeah, their Super Bowl odds would go up if
Yeah.
if we found out after the Super Bowl, for whatever reason Mahomes is retiring, whatever the Bills Super Bowl odds today, that's not tomorrow's price.
yeah. If he goes away for a couple of years like Jordan, you'd probably see some teams other than Kansas City get into the Super Bowl and they would have a shot. But that's what I'm saying is like it's like between them and New England, like the run New England went on, winning 6 titles, and even Brady with the 7th in Tampa Bay. Like, how many other guys would have rings? And that's completely like ruined how people view like what's like high quality winning seasons. Like the Colts for years. I mean, you're talking about they had like 7-8 years of 12 straight wins into the playoffs. Like that's high level winning in the NFL. If you have that many wins. And so like it is hard to move on from a guy from like McDermott because you're winning your division, you're winning double-digit games, you're getting deep into the postseason, whether it's in the divisional or the conference championship games. And, you just happen to run up against a buzzsaw because it's like the perfect storm of like a really, really good quarterback that was drafted into the perfect situation with a Hall of Fame tight end, like the greatest offensive mind of this generation, a top 10 offensive line, a top 2 defense, in the league. Like it's just so many things that work in Kansas City's favor that like even this season, whenever we've seen like, Patrick Mahomes had a down year for Patrick Mahomes. Like he's still a really good player, but like the defense is able to put like they have like I think judging by playoff statistics, I saw a graphic the other day. Like Kansas City is allowing the least amount of points in the playoffs since the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. Like that's what kind of run this defense is on right now in the playoffs.
Before we go any further, for those of you that are watching live, man, do I got a treat for you. For those of you that might be watching back, if you ain't know, you're about to know. One of my favorite people that I've met in my time in the fantasy industry. He's a great dude. He's a great fantasy analyst. He's one of the best behind the scene producers that the fantasy game knows. But tonight he's made the choice to come on with us, first time guest. He's not behind the glass tonight. He's going to be on the main stage. Please welcome in none other than Mr. Gator J himself. What's up, baby?
What is going on, fellas? Landon, listen, real quick. I want to touch on a quick thing that you just brought up about Michael Jordan back in the 90s. Would Patrick Ewing have rings right now? Because I think Patrick Ewing would have a few rings right now.
Playing the finals lost to Akeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler. That was the point I was going to
make. He would be sitting in his chair, sweating his ass off, counting some rings.
Yeah, and then he'd gone back to Georgetown and got a couple more there. Yeah, maybe a couple more $1 million on that contract going on. You know what I mean? So, but yes, thank you for the intro there, buddy. It has been a minute.
Way too long, man.
Look, I think you've
already got fans in the comments and everything.
That's it. It's just Kyle. Everybody has hanger-oners, and I'm trying to hang on to Kyle. I mean, Kyle is all over the place. You flying here and there. I've got a question for you, Drew.
Yeah.
With all the flights you've taken over this past year, are you able to get Taylor Swift enough flight miles to get back from Japan in time?
So, funny story. One of the people that I met with for work today, They actually provided some transportation for Taylor Swift's crew recently whenever they came to Buffalo. And she does not need my flight miles because she has a private jet and about 6 cars that follow her off of her private jet. Like the president. It was a very presidential like escort that I saw on video for that one of the people I met with their drivers filmed as they were leaving the private tarmac. Turns out she doesn't care about my Southwest miles because she has enough private jets to go anywhere she wants. So, yeah, no, I don't think T Swizzle is going to be hitting me up anytime soon.
I mean, you can share your Hilton passes with her or something, maybe. You know, give her something.
If you, I got a Hilton cup right here.
I can tell by the back end. I've stayed in a lot of hotels this year too for work. So
if she needs some Hilton points, I got her. If you need Hilton or Marriott points, I got you on that for sure. So,
breakfast too.
Gator, yeah. Well, it depends. Some breakfast you got to pay for, which is kind of bullshit because there ain't no regular Hilton or Marriott hotel breakfast that's worth.
Drew, I'm trying to get sponsors right now.
Yeah, you're right. All hotel breakfast is great. Complimentary, non-complimentary is great. Marriott, Hilton. If you got, I'm just gonna put you into one. Harriott. If y'all want to sponsor the show,
product placement. But if
Wingstop, if you want in, hey, we are.
Jared has the perfect spot for the product placement where right under the Ninja Turtles.
Thank you.
I don't know if that's magnets or if that's curtains, but we can hang everything right from there.
Well, he's got Slim Jim in the background too. So Slim Jim
actually too. And I was going to compliment Jay's setup. Like he's like a legit podcaster. Like that's
no. It's see 99% of the time. 99% of the time you don't even see that because I'm off camera. It's still lit up, so it's cool as hell for me.
His head is also hiding a very beautiful bourbon collection too that I've had him show off a few times.
I know Landon's eyes went right to that.
Yeah, I know.
I was literally looking right there. Like
there's a few of them up there. There's a bottle of Dickel back here. Gentleman Jack, of course. A little Don Martin from Turks and Caicos. So there's a couple good bottles back there. Nothing crazy. But yeah, it's all fun.
A bunch of Miller bottles up there, and there's a Stag. There's an Eagle Rare 17.
Yeah, there's Eagle Rare up there somewhere.
Limited edition Maker's Mark.
Surge can.
Like
that.
Yeah.
And my
might be more impressive.
Prized possession, my Shaq Fu punch here.
Oh, I do. I don't know. You can't see it all. It's a little off camera, right where that gator head is. Right here is where the cold beer is at. So there, anything from Bud Light to Modelo to water, it's all in there.
Got to keep the water on deck too. Got to keep the water on deck too. So Gator, you're our guest. So you got to let us know what has been your biggest takeaway. It could be AFC, NFC, player-based, team-based. What's been like some of your biggest takeaways from the NFL playoffs so far? Because us as a show, we did a playoff preview prior to any of the playoffs starting, but we have not talked since any of the playoff games played out. So was there a particular game that stuck out, a particular team's like struggles or playoff performances, in a positive way that stuck out to you?
Well, I was, me being a Tampa fan, I was really excited about how Tampa did through the year. Of course, it's the NFC South. Didn't have to do much to get into the playoffs. But when they did get in, you got to host a home game. And then not only did you show up for that home game, you got to dominate the Eagles.
Which, by the way, this show predicted.
We called.
And then we turn around and get to go to Detroit. First half, we were in the game. Dan Campbell is such a good coach. But we were in the game until the very end. I think there was the last 4 minutes of the game, I think there was a lot of questionable coaching on Tampa's side of the ball. Why didn't we call a timeout? Why did Dan Campbell, for some ungodly reason, allow them to snap the ball with that much time left that we could have called a timeout? And granted, no, we probably wouldn't have done anything as far as winning the game. But don't we always say play to the whistle?
Yeah, absolutely.
But as a coach, we're not playing to the whistle. That was quite surprising to me, especially with a veteran team that we had.
I will tell you one thing, Gator, like Baker is built for Tampa. And he is like I have an upfound respect for Baker Mayfield after this year. He played extremely well.
I always liked Baker.
I think he's a perfect fit. And I will go on record too. He was a better quarterback than what Brady was his last year in Tampa. Like significantly better.
Well, I also, not to downplay or diminish what the OC, I can't remember his daggum name now, Leftwich.
Dave can
I not to diminish what Leftwich did. I think Dave Canales is that much better of an OC than Leftwich was.
Well, that was going to be my next question for you, with Dave Canales getting the head coaching job in Carolina, which I think he was very deserving of. That was one of the guys that I highlighted a few like a month or so ago, thinking that he should get a head coaching opportunity. What is your feelings as a Tampa fan?
I hate it.
Losing him.
Hated it. And I blame it all on Rhett Manuel for putting it out there in the Twitter sphere that he should get a freaking job opportunity as an OC or as a head coach. And now I even hate it even more because now he's in freaking division right up the road in Carolina.
Yeah, that's right.
If he was going to get a job, hey, go to the AFC number one and go to the AFC West. I mean, the Raiders were perfectly fine. Go out there. Go hang out over there. Go hang out somewhere.
We don't need any more in the AFC.
The AFC's loaded enough as it is.
Over there.
The real question is, does Carolina's owner give him more than like one year or 6 weeks to try to do something without firing his ass?
Well, here's the thing. Dave Canales is a smart dude, and this is how I know this. He walked into this opportunity, took a 6-year guaranteed deal. So it doesn't matter if it's 2 weeks from now or if it's.
That doesn't mean that Dave Tipper won't fire his ass and just pay him on the side either.
He gets paid no matter what.
He does get paid no matter what.
He gets paid no matter what.
That's just like Cliff Kingsbury, taking a vacay and getting paid by Arizona, and then going and ruining USC's offense for a year, and then somehow getting an offensive coordinator job in Washington. I want to know who Cliff Kingsbury's agent is. That's what I want to know. How the hell do you ruin Arizona? And then after ruining Arizona's offense, you take a year off, and then you go to USC. What's been the biggest knock on Caleb for the folks that don't like Caleb Williams? What's been the biggest knock on Caleb Williams? He doesn't play
within structure,
and it's been his regression from last year to this year, right? Guess who wasn't on the coaching staff last year, but then was on the offensive coaching staff this year? It was Cliff Kingsbury. And then guess who had a losing record in college with Patrick Mahomes as his fucking quarterback?
Well, he was at Texas Tech. I mean, come on. He had like 4 of the people on the team. And that included the water boy.
But he had Patrick Mahomes, and he wasn't playing in the SEC. And you couldn't do better than 5-8 or whatever the hell they did.
Don't worry.
He was the offensive coordinator job, and whenever he was at Texas Tech, they were putting up like 60 points a game. They were just allowing
They were allowing like 74 points on average a game.
Yeah, so
at Texas Tech.
The offense was doing pretty good.
Patrick Mahomes averaging 633 yards per game.
What was it that it was Mahomes and Baker had a crazy ass game in college against each other, didn't they?
Yeah.
Whatever, Oklahoma and Texas Tech played each other. I don't know. Cliff Kingsbury, his agent is a big time finesser, because it wasn't like Washington was the only team interested. There were multiple, like it wasn't just a one team thing. There were multiple teams interested in this guy as their offensive coordinator. I don't know, maybe
didn't he?
I do think he is.
No, he's Washington's OC. Washington.
Oh shit! I thought he went to the Raiders as OC.
He's Washington's OC.
Okay. Never mind.
I do think he's actually a decent offensive coordinator.
Maybe he'll be a better OC than he was a head coach. We've seen a lot of people be better coordinators than head coaches, so maybe that'll be the case.
But it's a little less pressure. You don't have to deal with it, both
sides
of the ball.
Well, I'll say this too, like in the division, in Tampa's division, the Atlanta Falcons. How about that? How about Raheem Morris?
Oh,
that stat, man, is great. They are literally like a quarterback and a couple defensive pieces away, like, from being really, really, really good.
Yeah, I would argue to say they're just a quarterback away.
Yeah,
they could use help on defense, but if they get a better
And then
they need some pass rush help. But if they get a better quarterback, they win the division next year. I'm sorry, Gator.
I'm pulling this stat for you because I want you to hear this before you make that stupid bold prediction you're about to say that the Atlanta Falcons are going to win. Because number one,
they will. If they have a better
number one, he only has two things on the Atlanta offense that he likes, and that's London and Bijan. He doesn't even.
I know. He said that,
but here, I'm trying to find the actual numbers. But in his career, and it includes a head coaching job in Tampa.
Yeah, he was.
That was like 20 years ago.
His career head coaching numbers are like 23 and 37.
And I know you don't want.
You should know.
I know you don't want us to. I know you don't want us to have.
He won 10 games and went to the playoffs with that team in Tampa. Look at the roster of that Tampa team that he took to the playoffs.
Look what he had, what he was handed. Look what he was handed.
Yes.
But he's a defensive coach.
He is.
I'm saying Atlanta's making the mistake
side of the ball as well.
Atlanta's making the mistake, in my opinion, is not going out there and getting and spending the money like they did in the past. Like they did with Bobby Petrino whenever all that mess happened. I think Atlanta should have went, "Oh, miss, how you doing? Can we talk to Lane Kiffin?"
Nah.
And bring that monster to listen, as a Buccaneer fan, I would have hated it.
But they have an OC that came from the Sean McVay coaching tree, though.
Well, and here's the other
part. Because Morris brought him over there.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, whenever you look at offensive coaches that have come from the Sean McVay coaching tree, whether it be a head coach or a coordinator, they fared pretty well. And Raheem Morris, something that's important is the way that the players look at it as well. And Raheem Morris was voted whenever they had that player poll that came out during this year. Raheem Morris was voted one of the top 5 defensive coordinators in the entire NFL based on the player survey that went out during the year.
Great teacher.
Yeah, great teacher of the game. There is not a single person that has been coached by Raheem Morris that doesn't speak extremely highly of him. And something that really stuck out whenever he had his post-hire press conference with Atlanta was hearing what he learned from watching the relationship that Sean McVay had with Les Snead and the head coach GM relationship that he didn't have his first go around as a head coach. And he was bluntly honest, which I thought was really dope. He said, look, your first time head coach, I was young. I thought I knew everything. I didn't need anybody to tell me anything. I had all the answers. And then as a defensive coordinator with the Rams, I watched the relationship that Sean McVay had with Les Snead, watch how they collaborated. And I was jealous that I didn't have that my first go around as a head coach. And so I think that better days are ahead for Atlanta. But at the end of the day, if Desmond Ridder or Marcus Mariota or whoever is your quarterback, it truly doesn't matter. Like if Atlanta doesn't fix their quarterback position, you can have all the high hopes and the flowers and the positive vibes you want, but if your quarterback sucks in the NFL in today's day, it doesn't fucking matter how rosy everybody feels.
Here's something else too that Raheem Morris that nobody really ever talks about. So whenever he was with Atlanta the first time back in 2016 through 2019,
went 4-7 as a head coach.
Whenever that offense was breaking records and, Julio was going off and the passing game was exploding and all that, who was the wide receiver passing game coordinator coach for that team? It was Raheem Morris. He coached the wide receivers and he was the passing game coordinator.
He does have offensive experience, yeah.
So he's a guy that's coached at a high level on both sides of the ball, which is like kind of rare. Like
especially at the NFL level.
Yeah, like there's very few guys. Like I know Shane Steichen was one. He coached on the defensive side of the ball before transitioning to the offense. But with Raheem Morris, like we saw how great that Atlanta offense was, especially in the passing game. And he was the passing game coordinator when they were breaking all those records and going to the Super Bowl with, under Kyle Shanahan there. So I think that's another great aspect is like he's a guy that don't necessarily have to worry about, like, if my offensive coordinator gets poached, his connections around this league and his ability to see things from both sides of the ball. I really do think that's like so beneficial that like even if this guy, the guy that they hired as offensive coordinator, obviously he shook hands with Sean McVay, so he'll be a head coach next year.
Yeah, Zach Robinson, you can pencil him in. He'll be a head coach.
So he'll be a head coach. So
That's
whenever he leaves, like Raheem Morris will have another guy in there that's just as qualified and just as good because of the connections. So I got it. Like to me, that's my favorite hire of this offseason.
Is the least favorite hire of the offseason? Before we've been going 41 minutes. We haven't even talked about the Super Bowl yet, but who gives a shit? we do what we want here.
Yeah, there's a Super Bowl.
This is our There's apparently a Super. There's some important game going on in a few days, but before we get to that,
I don't even care about the game.
I thought that was last night. I thought we had the important stuff going last night. The Grammys.
Also important, yeah. Hey, did you guys know that Taylor Swift didn't hug that one person and didn't acknowledge him enough? And
I don't know anything about the Grammys, so
I don't either.
Neither do I.
I saw some people on Twitter.
Look, me and Jared we're preparing for a massive cheat day on Sunday.
Oh yeah, that's all.
We've been talking about it for like a week now. Like every day we text each other, it's like I can't wait. Like
there's one and only one thing that I'm preparing myself for, and I'm preparing myself to get hurt again because all I care about right now, all I want, is for baseball season to be back.
Go. Yeah,
it's always October.
Excited about baseball season 2.
Yeah, I'm sure you are Texas
really
Rangers fan.
Pumped about baseball season this year.
Yeah, I'm sure you most certainly are.
Well, real quick, Drew. I know this is a football podcast,
kinda,
yeah, but it's a talk about whatever we want to talk about.
Why do you even? I mean, it's still January. It's the pitchers and catchers haven't even reported yet.
I'm counting down the hours.
You are already sitting there. Your hands are shaking. You're sweating out of your brow, just knowing. You absolutely know that we're doing this in January, and come what, August 15th. August 27th, somewhere in that range, you're going to be so mad at the St. Louis Cardinals because they've lost just enough that they're not going to trade to go get somebody because they think they got the right pieces, but they should in order to. I mean, it's just like how is
that's the one thing I give John Mozeliak. I give our GM a lot of shit. But the one thing he has not been hesitant to do is to make a move at the trade deadline
and overpay for somebody.
No. That if you look at his trade deadline acquisitions over the years, they've been really, really good. But what for whatever reason, what they refuse to do is they will not hand out big contracts during the free agency period in the offseason. But he has not been afraid to go get somebody at the trade deadline whenever he thinks it makes sense. That's the one thing he has done well. Now. Rather, there's going to be a player that makes sense come the trade deadline, or whether the Cardinals are even going to be in contention for them to want to do that. I have no idea. Everybody's convinced that the Dodgers, it's the Dodgers team to lose and all that shit. But, this time last year was also the Mets and the Padres season to lose, and we saw how that shit played out. So I'm not.
Well, the Dodgers I'm short in the postseason pretty quick.
Whenever it comes to baseball.
Every year is the Dodgers.
I am
right?
so blinded. I'm so blinded by everything, and I'm so optimistic about baseball that you can never convince me that it's not the Cardinals' year. I'm like a fucking Cowboys fan in football season. Every year is our year where we're gonna win. I know you're a Braves. He's a Braves fan. I whenever it comes to baseball, I have so much fucking optimism. You can't tell me nothing. I don't care how bad. Like the Cardinals had the worst year, literally, of my lifetime last year. And at the beginning of the year, I was convinced we were going to win the whole fucking thing. So you can't shit on my baseball parade. It's not possible.
That's the best part about being a fan. It doesn't matter what fan of what team you are, what sport it is. Every year is our year.
That's right, baby.
I can finally say.
If you fast forward to football, go ahead, Jared. Go say it.
I am the only Texas Rangers fan probably in this location, this vicinity, like anywhere around this area. And yeah, we finally got one. I can erase the demons. My man, I like this guy a lot. Bring him in every podcast.
Last year was indeed your year.
Yes. And
Jared, I actually bought that a few years ago. My cousin, actually, who will be here this weekend, lives out in Dallas, and then his sister lives in Fort Worth. So I was out. Okay. So he's got a good buddy of his that is in real estate and that or whatever. And he got us box seats. Or I guess it was at the old stadium.
Yeah.
So not box seats, but basically we were in the outfield in one of those, we had the nice little pergolas over top of us, but we had AC and all that mess. Anyway, while we were out there, he got us tickets for that, and that's where that ball came from. The Texas, I'm from Tampa. I live in South Georgia, but I'm from Tampa, so I've always been a Braves fan because there was no baseball back when I was growing up in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been a Braves fan going back to the Dale Murphy, Bob Horner days.
TBS days.
Yeah, TBS. Yeah. And then, of course, kind of watched a lot of going to the TBS days when you had WGN, watching a lot of the Cubs games.
Yep.
But so the Rays, when Tampa got the Rays became my American League team. But because my cousin out in Texas, being a Rangers fan and going to every opening game and sends me pictures from there every single freaking year. I'm like, how do you get this day off every year? He's like, I plan around opening day. Like, that is so stupid. But I get it. I love it.
Opening day is one of the best days in sports.
Opening day should be a fucking holiday, a national holiday.
It's just like the Monday after Super Bowl should be a national holiday.
Yeah, I'm off work on Monday.
Yeah.
The older I get, the more I want to go to baseball games and the less I want to go to NFL games. And I like the NFL better as a product, but
the experience is not worth it.
It's different. Yeah.
Well, like the prices even to get in now, and then the crowds and all that, like where you have a better view, like like on my couch. Like, I mean, it's fantastic. Whereas baseball is completely different. Like you can get in the door, I mean, anywhere from like $10 to $50, and you can
as a rate
experience. It's a great, especially if it's real pretty outside. Beautiful weather. Have you a hot dog, a beer, sit there with your buddies. I mean,
unless you're in Tampa, you can get in between $1 and $7 sometimes.
Yeah. Well, last year for the Cardinals, I mean, it was like they had like games that was like $3.
Sometimes you can get into the Rays. You can actually get in the game cheaper than it would cost you to get a water or a beer.
Shit, Tampa might pay you to come to the game. You never know.
Florida's a tough market.
They did try that one time.
It's like the Bills paying their fans to shovel out the stadium, except Tampa just wants you to come watch the game. You don't got to do no manual labor. We just want to pay you guys to just come sit in the seats and watch the game and cheer for the Tampa Bay Rays.
It's actually it's beneficial for Tampa when it was COVID going on. It was beneficial for Tampa because all they had to do is put cardboard cutouts up, and it was just like they could fill every seat that way.
They only lost
a hockey town.
Tampa is. There is 2 sports in Tampa right now. Well, and there's the other side of this. So the Rays are on the other side of the bay. And it's the stadium is in the worst part of St. Petersburg.
Yeah. So my sister and brother-in-law used to live in Tampa before they moved back.
So you got the Bucks and the Lightning are both on the Tampa side of the bay, which is the bigger, more prominent, area. And they are both in good, the stadiums are both in good spots. One being on Dale Mabry, one being right there on Channel 7.
Franchises too.
And the Rays have been a successful franchise. They've just not been successfully getting people in the door.
Yeah.
They started off.
It is absolutely sad that and Tampa is known for being the snowbird city, right? Bringing everybody from the north down. Whether it's during season or baseball season or just they move down there. It is absolutely sad when the Rays are hosting the Yankees and there's 40,000 people in the Tropicana field
They're all Yankees.
And 42,000 of the 40,000 that are currently attending are all Yankees, and the Rays dominate the game 8-1.
Yep.
It is that sad. It's
the
sad
equivalent-
that the Rays are hosting the Yankees with 42,000 of the Yankees fans when the Yankees also have a stadium right across the street from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium, about 40 miles from the Rays Stadium, and they can't get nobody to go to the Yankees games there. It's a AAA team, but they can't get nobody to go there unless Jeter's there or unless, somebody big name is there. There's nobody going to those games.
It goes back to, it's no different than the Chargers. I mean, there was a Monday Night Football game this year where they played Dallas, and I mean, it was blue, like Dallas.
Yeah, the Chargers thing is a quite a bit different to me because LA will never be a Chargers town. It will never be a Rams town.
It's a
49ers town.
No, it is a Raiders.
Goes.
It is a Raiders town. That is the LA Raiders. No. When it comes, if you were to actually,
I promise you, the 49ers have a bigger presence than the Raiders.
I don't think so. The Raiders had so much dominance or so much presence down there. Plus the fact that the Chargers are San Diego.
Yeah, the Chargers should have never moved to LA.
Get back down to San Diego.
Yeah, it made more sense than San Diego.
Yeah, the Chargers moving to LA made no sense. That's exactly what it was. Money is the thing. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're almost an hour deep, and we haven't even actually talked about this. We haven't even talked about the Super big as the what.
I'm doing a brisket this week in 18.5 pounds for the Super Bowl.
Ooh, I plan on gaining 18.5 pounds on the Super Bowl.
What are you smoking it in?
A big old smoker. Golly.
You got an offset? You got
it's an offset stick smoker.
Use a post oak.
Gonna use some black oak with a little bit of apple.
There you go. Salt and pepper only? Or?
Just salt and pepper, baby.
Texas way?
Texas way. No Texas crutch. We're going to wrap it in butcher paper.
There you go.
And let that baby go. It's probably going to take about 20 hours.
What's the you got 16 mesh black pepper?
Yep.
Get you some 16 mesh, baby.
That's I got 16 mesh black and the it was a number 8 salt.
There you go.
I've already mixed those. I get 2, whatever 16-ounce jugs, just ready to just.
Thank you.
No, I'm doing. I'm gonna salt it, or I'm gonna season it Friday night. Throw it in the fridge. Let it soak all the seasoning in. I might throw a little bit more Saturday morning before I throw it.
Tell you what the secret is. If you ever want to take it to the next level, Wagyu beef tallow before you wrap it.
I've never done any tallow, so
I still gotta tallow when you wrap it. Next level.
Okay.
Just trust me.
I'm actually gonna do tallow this year with the fat and everything else. So I'm gonna try to render it down and then.
Well, that's a good way too. Like, I mean, did you have you already trimmed it?
No. I'm gonna trim it probably Thursday night, Friday morning, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, save your trimmings, man.
Yes.
You melt those down for some tallow. Get you a nice little fat separator. Yeah,
that sounds amazing.
Way to go, man.
Mm-hmm.
I smoke a lot of meat myself. So no,
but Jared, you being out there in Arlington, you should be.
That's gonna get screened. That's gonna get like clipped. Somebody's gonna use that against me.
Yeah, you smoke a lot of it. So Jared, you know Aaron Franklin, or know of Aaron Franklin out there in Texas. That's basically the recipe that I'm going on.
Okay,
that's a good one. That's a good one.
I plan on like eating like complete trash on Sunday.
Me and him are gonna annihilate.
That's a Super Bowl tradition.
Well, Landon and I have been doing keto.
Yeah, so we don't eat sugar or carbs. Neither one of it.
So Drew, Jared, and Landon do not want a keto sponsor.
That's I'm going to Dairy Queen as soon as they open.
We've already talked about it. So we're getting a large Blizzard, double Oreo, double Reese's. We're getting like 3 stuffed crust pizzas.
From where? From where?
Pizza Hut.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're going pizza.
As far as chain pizzas go, they're the I just hope to God you weren't going to say Domino's.
Well, Domino's does stuffed crust.
Probably not. Their pizza's fucking terrible, but
I can't do
they-
this anymore.
Little Caesars.
I just can't.
Pizza.
yeah, pizza.
But yeah, so
Those
we've already
Caesar
talked
cut you a
about,
fucking deal, though. They will cut you a
stuffed crust
deal.
pizza, large blizzard. Feel like shit for about 3 or 4 days after that, and then
Y'all gotta get some wings too, right? Wingstop. What are y'all doing?
we eat
I'm
wings.
burnt out on wings, man. Like I
We
ate wings tonight. Like that's how much like of this diet. Like
you can have wings when you eat low carb. Like, depends on the sauces, but like, so
I
I
don't
mean,
use to eat rubs.
so me and Jared, we eat wings like 3 nights a week. Like,
Yeah.
whenever I'm having a cheat meal,
I'd be air frying some wings too.
I do that too.
They're
I
pretty.
mean,
you
they'll
got-
probably be
You got some
wings.
garlic Parmesan Buffalo Wild Wings like in the bottle, and I'll air fry the wings, and then
I see. I do. I put
Parmesan.
some Frank's Red Hot in a pan and melt it down with a little bit of butter.
butter.
Yeah,
make you a
and
buffalo
then I'll air fry the wings and then just toss them in the Frank's Red
Oh,
Hot with some butter.
Yeah, I do all
Ask
kinds
Landon
of
about
lemon
ask
pepper.
Landon about my Frank's Red Hot sauce going in the crock pot.
But yeah, so I mean, hey, you might have heard a rumor that there was a football game going on Sunday. I don't.
Pizza what?
Yeah, it's big
We
as
gotta
the
talk
what.
about food here.
Biggest
I'd rather just talk about food for the next hour because I don't want to have to talk about the San Francisco 49ers. But at some
I
point, I
don't
got to
want
bite
to talk
the
about
bullet.
food, like, because I'm trying. Me and Jared have talked about this meal every day for like 5 days straight, and
yeah.
I'm literally counting down. Like, I can't wait. And so every day I'm just like, man, like, is it Sunday yet? Like, I'm just ready to eat.
Football's irrelevant.
Yeah, I don't even care about I literally don't care about the game. I could care less.
Well,
But if we are going to talk about the game,
I'm just trying to
Yeah,
get this fucking blizzard.
I just I want you to pretend that the blizzard is the preview of this football game, and I want you to put that kind of energy into previewing this Super Bowl game. Pretend that our Super Bowl preview is your Reese's and Oreo blizzard, which is a wild combo, by the way. Like,
that's
gotta-
what we're doing.
You just got to go all out with it. Like,
yeah, I mean,
have-
if you're gonna do it big.
you're gonna do
That-
it because
that's
we don't
wild.
ever like you don't ever get to like how many blizzards have you ate in like the last year? Like,
I don't know if
2,
I've had a single
maybe?
one.
I've
yeah,
had 0.
No, you had one.
I've
You
got
had
to. I just noticed this, Jared. You said
Yeah.
you didn't know anything about the Grammys. I just noticed this.
My name?
Tortured Poets Department regional manager.
It's-
It was.
It's a
So
football
anyway.
podcast, and this game is more than just a game. This is a full on
cultural phenomenon.
yes.
What do
This
you?
is pop culture. This is not the NFL. This is pop culture.
This is
Okay.
pop culture.
Just making sure. All right, go ahead, Drew.
No, I do know about the Grammys. I actually read the results.
Yeah, look. So typically, it's supposed to be Landon's job to keep us on task, but then we started talking about his cheat day, and his shit just went off the rails.
We could talk for probably 3 hours on just blizzards at this point.
Yeah. You see what happens whenever you deprive a man from his calories?
Oh, man. Yeah.
He grows a 2-foot beard and starts to lose his mind, man. Get this man a blizzard.
Look
To be
how-
fair,
now.
I have lost like 16 pounds in 30 days. So
Look good, brother.
that's
Look good.
Congrats to you,
an
bro.
amount of weight because like it's not like I'm like huge anyway. But like
I think
that's-
that might be the best advertisement for what is it? Is it Snickers that says you're not you when you're hungry?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think this might be the best advertisement for Snickers because just a few minutes ago we had Landon himself saying he don't give a fuck about football. So like you are clearly not you when you're hungry. So
That's true.
Snickers, hey, if you're looking for an advertisement, this man is literally out of his mind right now just because he wants a blizzard. So
Need that timestamp and the send that to Snickers, please. Thank you.
yeah, we're gonna flip it and ship it, send that out to Snickers. But yeah, so there is a football game that I guess now that we're an hour deep, we will finally get into the San Francisco 49ers and Kansas City Chiefs. I don't fucking know which Roman numeral we're on, but they're playing the Super Bowl though.
38.
38. Okay.
Or is
There you
it
go.
38? No, 58. I'm sorry, 58.
58.
This time as old as the Super Bowl.
Transport back 20 years and we're right on task. But so should we talk about the game first and then give predictions at the end, or how should we do this? You guys want to just talk about how the Chiefs are going to win the game, or wait?
I need Richie James to have 3 catches. That's what I need.
Okay, so we're getting straight into the degenerate stuff. That's perfect because we have a prime degenerate right here that joined us as a guest. Gator J.
Oh,
you are he is a betting man.
Okay.
He loves his spreads. He loves the over-unders. He is a betting man. So Gator J, please tell me, what are some of the betting odds we should be paying attention to for the Super Bowl?
There's one that I actually looked at the other day, and I know it's on Sleeper. I haven't looked and seen that's on any others, but they've got a line out there for Elijah Mitchell at 4.5 total yards, rushing or receiving, or a combo. And I think that's a little insane.
I'll take that.
That low. And you could, of course, they're not on DK. They're not allowing a lot of parlays right now. They don't have anything set up for parlays on this game.
Problems going on right now too.
That one there, I want to see. Actually, I'm going to look it up right now. I want to see what if he has anything rushing. Let's go, Elijah Mitchell. 3.5 rushing yards is what DK has him at. I think I'd take that too.
Well, I mean, like it's wild because like it seems like that's a gimme, but
yes.
the man only had 7 rushing yards in the game against Detroit,
and a touchdown.
He
doesn't so wait 7 is more or less than 3.5. I'm wondering.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. But he put up a fat ass 0 against Green Bay the week before that too.
McCaffrey got hurt in that game.
Here's something
paying attention to.
Here's something you're not paying attention to.
You're already getting some support in the comments.
Here's something you're not paying attention to.
That's a smart one.
How many times has Christian McCaffrey played in the playoffs in his career?
Shit, probably not any.
Exactly.
He had to play.
So how many times has he played 20 games in a season?
Oh, this is definitely the first time for that.
So let's talk about. We need a break.
But
he's getting a lot of usage.
Wait, the time to give Christian McCaffrey a break.
Wait, what?
He's getting a break. He's got 2 weeks off.
What did you talk about? What did you talk about Shanahan earlier? What did he do wrong?
That's true. That's true. He's the king of mismanaging. So if there's ever a time
mismanaging,
if there's
time to mismanage for Kyle Shanahan, it's in the Super Bowl.
If there's ever a fucking time to give Elijah Mitchell 10 carries,
he will not run. He will not run the ball.
Or the flip side of that, what if San Francisco blows them out?
San Francisco won't blow anybody out.
I don't think they will either. But you have the scenario where that is
Chase Young on the field with that piss poor effort.
Talk about a fucking terrible acquisition at the trade deadline that I thought was going to move numbers that did not. All right, so Elijah Mitchell, he's got some favorable odds. What's another one you like?
Another one that I like that I've actually been riding this guy over the last 4 or 5 weeks.
MVS, baby.
Every single time his number stays at like 16, 15, 16, 17 and a half.
Oh, it's Justin Watson, isn't it?
And if you look at his numbers throughout the year, he's averaging like 22, 23 yards per game. And it is Justin Watson.
I knew it.
Justin Watson at 17 and a half. That's a hammer over for me.
I referenced that earlier today with Landon, actually.
Yeah, Jared texted me earlier about Justin Watson.
Yeah, Justin Watson is, I mean, if you can take Justin Watson and Elijah Mitchell, a few the props that I have put together, or other props that I have, you can throw those in a parlay, and it may be a little bit of a sweat, but you're only sweating basically 3 quarters, because by the third quarter, they should all hit.
Well,
Brock Purdy at 12.5 rushing yards. Come on.
Yeah, that's a gimme. That's a gimme. Yeah, I agree, because I have been very critical of Brock Purdy as an NFL quarterback, but the one thing the guy can do though, he can create with his legs, and he is very good at scrambling and improvising. And so if his rushing total is that low, yeah, I'm hammering that for sure. But what did you say Watson's receiving line was?
17.5 on Sleeper. Let me look right now. I'll look and see.
Okay.
Receiving on Watson for. Golly, they pushed him way down. Justin Watson. It's alternative lines.
So
they got him at 16. They got him at 16.5 right now on DK.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go back to week 14 against Buffalo. His yardage totals was 18, 31, 38, 41 up to week 17. Week 18 he was at 0 against the Chargers, but nobody played. And then in the playoffs, 20 yards against Miami in the first round. Now at Buffalo he didn't have anything, but then against Baltimore, 16 yards. So he has been over that line in games that he's played, every game except for the one against Baltimore. So sign me up for the Brock Purdy rushing yards. Sign me up for the Justin Watson receiving yards. I like.
Well, Watson's going to see the field too because they're not going to trot Tony out there at all.
No, it's Kadarius. Kadarius Tony. It's Rashee Rice and it's Travis Kelce. Like those are the two guys to where
MVS to get a ton of snaps and not do anything with it.
Do a damn thing with it like he's done his entire career. That's the
I tell
one
you,
guy.
I don't hate that line though for MVS this week either. This
I won't put any money.
I'm not going to play it. I don't recommend playing it, but at 19.5,
it's one play.
If you need
that is one catch for MVS.
Correct. So if you're looking at throwing in a nice
boost
dart throws, right? If you're throwing in dart throws and you're going to throw in, go in there and say Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for 350 plus yards. You're going to say that Brock Purdy is going to throw for 295 plus, whatever. You're going to throw this dart throw out there to throw a $10 bet in and go and get, $1,000 payout on a $10 bill. Why not throw an MVS?
I will tell you
20 yards.
The one and only reason that I will not put any of my hard-earned money on MVS is because this man has spent his entire career with two of the he has spent his entire career with the two best quarterbacks I have watched in my lifetime. I would be willing to say that in my lifetime, Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes have been the two best quarterbacks that I've ever watched play football in my life.
He spent 4 games with. Wait, was he in Green Bay as well?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, yeah.
Green Bay.
Well,
the man has spent his entire career with either Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, and ain't got a goddamn thing to show for it.
But,
that's pretty hard to do.
That line might hit, but I'm not putting any of my fucking money on it.
Did you see the Hard Knocks the episode where was it MVS? I think it was MVS when he was with the Jets, right?
I don't think
who was the one with the Jets?
McCole Hardman.
Oh, was that because that was Hardman? Hardman was with the Jets, and he was the one that came up when that psychic was there or whatever.
Yep.
It was like basically he was asking me, Cole.
When
you're at the Super Bowl this year, of course he was with the Jets at the time, but he said when you're at the Super Bowl this year, who are you playing? He predicted the 49ers then.
Well, he's predicting Super Bowl opponent. He's already better at predicting Super Bowl opponents than he is being productive in the NFL. So we got to give him that at least.
I mean, DK doesn't have Mecole Hardman on.
He probably doesn't even have a line.
What a trash ass receiving core.
Which is just again goes to show you how fucking special Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are. No, not just Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid too. How special
and Travis
those
Kelce
guys are.
I was waiting,
and 34 years old.
And play off Travis Kelce because
wait, y'all need to give Taylor Swift a little bit more credit for her receiving chops.
I know you guys
motivated him.
You guys both play fantasy. Gator, I know you play fantasy. So you guys know, you saw the discourse during the regular season. Everybody was calling Travis Kelce cooked because he did not produce what everybody that drafted him in the first round of fantasy drafts. They did not get the numbers they were hoping for. Right. And so everybody was calling Travis Kelce washed and trash. And then
he was still like tight end.
Yeah. Which, To be fair, considering injuries and how bad the tight end position is a low bar. But
Mark Andrews was out all year.
The tight end position is looking up for the future. That's a topic for another day. But lo and behold, the playoffs roll around, and there's Travis Kelce making insane plays. There's Patrick Mahomes just relying on Travis
like
Kelce.
He was coasting throughout the season.
Wait, are you saying that you can take a break in season and not have to do it all?
Yeah.
Man, how dare you?
When you're playing a division with the Chargers and the Raiders, then yeah.
Why does Landon keep tapping his head? Why does Landon keep tapping his? Why does he always want out the next play?
So I saw a number. I wish I had the exact numbers because I would love to have them up and just talk about how unreal they are. But Mahomes and Kelce have played enough playoff games together now to where they essentially have a full NFL regular season slate.
17 games, yep.
Of playoff games together to where they have the numbers now to where you can say, hey, this is their NFL regular season totals for playoff games. And it is fucking absurd what those two have done together in 17 games in the playoffs. And I don't care if Travis Kelce is 40 years old and him and Taylor Swift got 3 kids at home. I'm not, and I said this on the playoff preview show, I am not betting against Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in the playoffs. And now they're playing the team that I hate more than any team in NFL history. Yeah, forget about it. There's no fucking shot I'm picking against these guys. No way. You can call me biased. I absolutely am. 100%. I am 100% biased. I am a Rams fan first. First and foremost, I'm a Rams fan. I will always and forever root for the Rams to succeed more than anybody else to fail. But number 2, I am a 49ers hater. I fucking hate the 49ers. I hate the fact that they hang their hat on these stupid ass. We fill the stands. Oh, the Rams games is just like the Rams away games, just like another home game. We got all the fans in the stands, but I hate the fucking 49ers. With a passion. They have all of these regular season. We beat the Rams all these times in a row. You know what I fucking love most about that? Is number one, Carson Wentz, my GOAT, my hero. He ended the streak of regular season wins against the 49ers whenever he beat the 49ers. Carson Wentz, god damn it, I love you, man. But before Carson Wentz ended that stupid ass streak, you know what my favorite thing was? My favorite thing was watching 49ers fans on Twitter have to say, we've beaten the Rams for X amount of games in the regular season. And you know why they had to say that? Because the Rams beat their fucking ass to go to the Super Bowl and then beat Cincinnati in the Super Bowl. They couldn't say we beat the Rams this many times in a row anymore. Because they lost in the playoff. They had like 9 straight wins in the regular season, but then the playoffs came around, and Kyle Shanahan did what he does. Jimmy Garoppolo did what he does, and the Rams won that game. And so then they had to say, "Oh, we've won this many games in the regular season in a row." But now that's over too because Carson Wentz the GOAT. He ended all that shit. But
Carson Wentz has ended a lot of things.
He has. Make no mistake about it. I'm biased. I am so biased with this game. I am going to wake up extra early to get my hate on Sunday because I hate the 49ers with everything in my soul. I want the Rams to win first, and I want the 49ers to lose second. And I will not deny it for a second. You will not get an argument out of me. Absolutely unbiased. I hate these fucking guys. I hate them. But that's what I love that about sports, though. I love the fact that I don't know a single person on the 49ers personally, and I hate every single fucking one of them. Deebo Samuel is an incredible football player. I hate that fucking guy because somehow he puts up 200 fucking yards every time he plays the Rams. And so I have so much respect for the dude, but I fucking hate him. because of what he does to the Rams, and it never fails. Deebo Samuel could literally set out an entire season and come back come back for one game against the Rams, I promise you he's putting up 150 total yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yes.
I promise you. The dude's so fucking good at football, and I hate that he's a 49er. But it's all going to be good because come Sunday, this beautiful defense that Spags has built is going to expose Brock Purdy for the fraud that he is. He's nothing more than a mobile Jimmy G. He's Jimmy G with fucking legs, and I can't wait. It was supposed to happen against the Eagles, and then he got hurt, and the expose didn't happen. It's going to happen in the Super Bowl. He's going to go for like 150 total yards. CMC's going to go nuts because the Chiefs, they struggle against the run. And look, if your defense struggles against running backs and now you got to fucking play Christian McCaffrey, not great, Bob. I think that CMC's going to have a great game. I think Brock Purdy is going to be shown to be the guy that he is, which is a average quarterback.
Super Bowl caliber quarterback.
He is an average quarterback, which there's nothing wrong with being an average quarterback in the NFL. That means you are a above average quarterback compared to everybody else because the best of the best only makes it into the NFL. But
I hope he goes fucking Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
I'm happy for you for feeling that way because I can't
I hope
wait
he
to
throws
see
6 touchdowns and they're all like 80 yards after catch.
And that's you know what? That's exactly what will happen if he does have 6 touchdowns. They'll all be 80 yards after catch. Because
just to hear the discourse. Like I love it.
That's what happens. Christian McCaffrey is the only person on the 49ers I respect, and maybe that's just because, he's hadn't been there for as long. But yeah, everybody else can go fuck themselves. Brock Purdy is a fraud. Kyle Shanahan is a choke artist, and Chase Young is the biggest bust of a trade deadline acquisition of the last 4 or 5 years. He's a fraud. He sucks ass. The 49ers suck ass. The Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. That's my completely unbiased take.
So the real question is Richie James going to have 3 receptions in this game on Sunday?
Let's look at some Ricky James snap totals over the last few weeks. Hang on, give me just a second.
Who do they have? That Kansas City wide receiving core, man, it's tough. It is tough.
So Richie James played 0% of snaps against Baltimore. So, which I don't know how that's possible because he had a target, and so I don't know how you played no snaps and have a target. Maybe Mahomes threw it out of bounds and Richie James caught it, but
I know he was doing kick returns for him too.
Maybe that's what it was. He hasn't had 3 receptions since week 16, and week 16 was the only time the entire season he had 3 receptions. So I'm going to take the under.
He's due.
or as a degenerate, you could look at that and say that he's due. Kyle, so yeah, Stephen A. hating on the Cowboys, me hating on the Niners. I like it. I like that comparison, actually. I'm cool with that.
Drew, Stephen A. Drew's over Stephen A.
I'm cool with that. Yeah,
you're a better analyst than Stephen A.
So while you were,
I'd love to sit next to the table and get Stephen A. I'd run circles around his ass. And I respect Stephen A. He's one of the goats at what he does, but he's being pulled too many places. He's got too much shit on his mind.
He's worried about what the Cowboys are doing, what the Knicks are doing.
ESPN's got him doing NBA, NFL, boxing, MMA. He's such a marketable person. They put his ass everywhere they can. And
all he's wanting to do is
I'm not a busy man, so I got some more free time to do some research. So it's not Stephen A's fault, but they be pulling and tugging his ass everywhere they can. And then he has his own podcast, which, by the way, is phenomenal. So fucking good. His personal podcast is separate from ESPN. Is such a fun listen, and I loved every second of watching him flame Jason Whitlock's stupid ass. That was so much fun. That's some of the best. I'm so sick of that fat bastard. You piece of shit.
He tiptoes around all that.
He's pretty buttoned up for the most part, but that was so good, man. Oh, so good. But
What a joke.
I've talked enough about how much I love the 49ers. I need to step back and let you guys have a more unbiased take on this game. So I'm gonna take a back seat and let you guys talk about this game a little bit.
Well, while you were doing your Niners love
Monologue.
fest over there, I built a parlay, 6 legs, at a plus 3,100.
Here we go.
Are we ready?
We're ready.
Landon, tell me who bust this for me, because I took basically the Brock Purdy 12.5 going over rushing,
Good bet.
the 16.5 for Watson receiving going over. I added in Brandon Ayuk getting 4.5 receptions, so we need 5 receptions for Brandon Ayuk. I don't want to touch the yardage. It's at 60-something yards. Don't really want to touch the yards on that one. Brandon Ayuk is such a polarizing figure when it comes to these, because he could get 5 receptions for 4 yards. He could get 3 receptions for 160 and 3 touchdowns. So I try to stay away from a lot of his yardage. Christian McCaffrey, anytime touchdown. I think that's
Safe.
Pretty much a give me as soon as you
100 yards or a
steps on the
touchdown.
field, right? Isaiah Pacheco, anytime touchdown. I think that's pretty safe. Anytime the Chiefs touch the ball, there's a chance for him to get it. Spicy one, Rashid Rice, anytime touchdown.
Ooh.
I like it because I think Rice has a big game. I think he's the guy for Kansas City that does have a game. I think the attention is going to be on Kelsey, but I think Rice is the one that
I think
If you look at the trend, the Ayuk one, okay.
Because Trent
Brandon
McDuffie
Ayuk
is probably
is-
going to shadow him around.
that's a
And
tough matchup.
Trent McDuffie is a dog. Like, that's going to be
So is L'Jarius Sneed, though, man. Like, it doesn't really matter where he lines up. The Kansas City secondary is tough.
yeah. I mean,
It's tough.
I believe they're number 1 ranked against the pass in the league. So
Brandon Ayuk is like the perfect DFS play.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though, right now, is if I take Ayuk out, so I do the exact same bet, the Purdy rushing, Watson receiving, and the 3 anytime touchdowns, it's at plus 1,600. That's how dynamic or how polarizing that the Brandon Ayuk, even only 4.5 receptions, so basically 5 receptions, is. It jumps it from 16 to 3,100. So it's a 1,500 point swing right there, just on that. So, yeah, that's the one that scares me the most. Anytime I look at Ayuk lines, it's always scary because, like I said, he can go 1 for 20. He can go 3 for 75. He can go 3 for 120 and 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
And not only does it scare me because I have him in so many fantasy teams as well. That's, so I get to watch it every week.
Ton of variance on him.
But he is so dynamic.
Yep.
He is.
He's the best receiver on that team, in my opinion. He's the best overall receiver.
Just pure receiver. I would agree with that. I mean, Debo's a more dynamic threat, but
that's the other question.
Pure
now.
wide receiver, though, yeah.
But here's the question for me: is this really truly a true gamble? Because now Debo is in the lineup. Debo will be playing. Does Snead cover Ayuk the whole time? Or does Snead bounce back and forth? Does that give opportunities to Ayuk getting more?
Move him around.
They're going to have to move him around.
There won't be any lockdown on Debo. You can't.
So that means there's not going to be a lockdown on Ayuk either.
They manufacture touches to Debo. Whereas I think Ayuk is more like in the flow of the offense, where like if he's open, he gets it, but like they're not going to necessarily like look to get him the ball. It's kind of dependent on his ability to get open against this matchup. Whereas Debo, they're going to find different ways to like manufacture, whether it's getting him touches in the running game, getting him touches on screens, getting him touches, on the drag routes, yards after catch, these inside breaking routes. They really kind of manage to find different ways to get the ball in his hands. But Ayuk is more, like I said, it's more of like dependent on his ability to get open against his matchup at DB.
But if this game goes as what I think the 4 of us expect, it should be a negative game script for San Francisco, and it should be a passing game script
up field
for
too.
San Francisco. Now, whether that means it's all going to be Kittle.
I think there's a good chance this game is actually because like both of these passing defenses
It's gonna be low scoring.
really, really good. Both of the passing offenses are really, really good. Like efficiency. So Kansas City ranks
I'd
San
have to find
Francisco.
the.
Well, hold on for you hate. Based on the numbers, based on the efficiency numbers and all that kind of stuff, like the all that advanced analytics BS, all that kind of stuff. San Francisco has the number 3 ranked passing defense in the league this year.
But
Kansas City has number 1.
But whenever you look at it on zone coverage, though, which is what they run a ton of, and then you compare it to what Patrick Mahomes does against zone coverage, it starts to paint a very different picture.
But that's also really matchup dependent because they run so much zone coverage because they have the linebackers to run it. A lot of teams don't have Fred Warner and Greenlaw to run out there in zone coverage. Like those guys are game changers when it comes to that.
From a betting standpoint.
And so like I think this is a much like this isn't like a normal zone coverage scheme where you're really kind of isolating like Travis Kelce on linebackers and safeties, and he's able to take advantage of those matchups. Like that doesn't really exist against San Francisco's defense because Fred Warner and Greenlaw are both so dynamic as in pass coverage, especially, Fred Warner. Like he's just such a dynamic piece that it's like you don't really play against a guy like that, especially in zone coverage, until you play the 49ers. So it's kind of like a different match.
Something that whenever you guys had talked about Ayuk, something that hit my mind that I saw. So Jordan Vanek, at Jordan Vanek DFS on Twitter, to credit him for this, he had mentioned that the most frequently used formation for the 49ers passing the ball has been balanced, and George Kittle has led the team in targets from this formation with Brock Purdy under center. And this formation is also the only one that Kansas City secondary has allowed over 7.0 yards per attempt against. And another player to look out for is Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk has been highly productive, averaging 3.5 yards per route run from this formation. So as good as the Chief defensive backs are, Ayuk could showcase as one of the league's best receivers against this formation. So again, just kind of more propaganda for the for the Kansas City Chiefs going against San Francisco and their pass catchers. So Debo was the only one that wasn't brought up there, but I just thought it was interesting because we hadn't really talked about George Kittle much, but he's one of those guys to where all it takes is one play for him to bust any type of over under anything that I haven't even looked to see what it's set at. But he's one of the few big play tight ends in the league to where it literally just takes one pass.
Yeah, both of these tight ends, like these are really dynamic guys.
Yeah,
but that's what I was kind of saying. Like because Kansas City, on the flip side, they don't necessarily have a guy like Fred Warner on their linebacker.
I mean, they do. Nick Bolton is that dude. He's just not played a ton this year.
Yeah, I mean, like he's really good, but it's more in like the pass coverage aspect of it, where. Like to me, like whenever you're talking, like it's like kind of like Fred Warner in like his own tier when it comes to that kind of stuff, and then you got guys like Bobby Okereke and like some other guys down there. Levante David is one that's in that kind of second tier, but Fred Warner is kind of in a tier in his own when it comes to like that pass coverage aspect of it, and then there's that second tier, but it's going to be really a lot easier for George Kittle, I think, to kind of take advantage of his matchups than Travis Kelce. Like the thing about Kelce though, that's weird is like, there's not like a specific like route tree or anything. It's just more of like him understanding like where the zone coverage is and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be really like just a really good chess match in this game.
The only issue I have with what you just brought up about Kelce is we've said that all year about Kelce. And with having no other wide receivers, it still seems that Kelce can just do what Kelsey's going to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like because it's not necessarily like other tight ends where other tight ends, they're kind of like, okay, say you're running like an out route or anything like that. You've got your once you hit, your fourth or fifth step, you're cutting out all this kind of stuff, and it's really just dependent on that. Whereas Travis Kelce, it's none of that. Like he's just like freestyling out there, where like he'll get into his route and then he'll see something and then it completely changes. Like,
it's crazy that because he sees something, Patrick Mahomes sees it too. I have no idea how that happens. Like they must have that AT&T little. No, they have the AT&T dots in their face mask or whatever that they're seeing the exact same thing, and it should be cheating. 99% of the league.
The Apple goggles.
Apple goggles. That's what it is. The new Apple goggles.
Or Vision.
Crazy. But no, what the other side of that too is Travis Kelce said that George Kittle is the best tight end in the league.
I mean, whenever you consider pass catching chops and blocking and everything that comes, like Travis Kelce obviously isn't going to be like, oh, I'm the best tight end in the league. So you have to factor that into it as well. But
he's not. He's the third best.
What?
He was that bad this year. He dropped all the way to 3.
Oh, there's no way. There's no
dropped
way.
all the way to 3. Sam Laporta even beat him out.
I think he's second. I do think Kittle actually is more well-rounded, but it just depends. Like if you're talking about like just pure pass catching chops, he's easily number 1, like without question. But if you're talking about more like well-rounded tight end play, I do think George Kittle, because George Kittle's an extra offensive tackle. Like it's unfair.
George Kittle is a better blocker, and then he also at this point in their careers he also has a little bit more burst too.
He's
Travis Kelce is still the best route running tight end.
Travis Kelce is like a few months older than Gronk, so
yeah, exactly. Like I don't think Kelce gets enough credit for what he's doing at the age he's doing it at.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, but like I talked about it a little bit earlier. I guess I preferenced it, but the tight end position is in a really good spot for the future. Like Trey McBride, is coming up, and Sam Laporta's resurgence. Like Michael Mayer, we hadn't really even talked about him because he didn't do much, but that's because
and then you got the Colts taking Brock Bowers this year to pair with Anthony Richardson.
Like, well, look, that sounds good, but we all know there's going to be a corner that's going to just like test insanely at the combine and have like a 9.99 RAS score, and you guys are absolutely drafting that guy.
We do need a corner. I'm not gonna.
Y'all do. Y'all do, and there will be one that'll test unreal, and he'll have that like almost 10 RAS score, and Chris Ballard is going to be like, yeah, that's my guy.
Well, until Brock Bowers has like. I don't think
there's any way in hell Brock Bowers falls that far in the draft, though. Maybe I'm crazy, but
I don't think he does either. But there's just been a lot.
It would be such a fun fit.
There's just a lot of mock drafts.
Could you imagine
happening?
Anthony Richardson, the Florida Gator,
the GOAT, saying
"F you, Brock. You're a bulldog. I'm not throwing the ball to you."
Yeah, no, that's not the win. That's for teammates.
I think that would be a phenomenal pairing.
Just have
those two together.
Just have Brock Bowers and Jelani Woods lining up 12 personnel.
Oh, Landon, you're talking my language, man. I talked up Jelani Woods all offseason for him to not play a single goddamn snap, which wasn't his fault. Wasn't his fault, but
it was Mo Alley Cox's fault.
I still believe
hamstrings are a bitch, man.
Jelani Woods is another offseason of getting healthy. Jelani Woods, especially if they don't get Brock Bowers, dude, I'm gonna be all aboard the Jelani Woods train all over again. You just go ahead and get ready. The Jelani Woods propaganda for fantasy purposes. Again, you see under my name, I'm a fantasy guy. For fantasy purposes, I will absolutely be pumping up Jelani Woods this offseason if he survives the draft process and they don't add Brock Bowers or somebody like that.
I think they'll add a tight end just because there's been a lot going on.
They should.
They got arrested. Colin Grancy, Mo Alley Cox is getting up there. They might move on from him.
Yeah,
so I think
they should add some depth. But if they don't,
they add one. But
if they don't add Brock Bowers or Jatavion Sanders, I'm going to be all aboard the Jelani Woods train all over again. I'm ready to get hurt again.
Some freaks, man. Like
the main problem is I love Anthony Richardson so much. I've already landed. You weren't. So we did our Fantasy and Frames. We did our at the end of one of our episodes a few weeks ago. We did our bold predictions for 2024. my bold prediction for the 2024 fantasy season was that Anthony Richardson would finish as a top 3 quarterback in fantasy points per game.
Oof.
I mean, he was a top 3 quarterback.
Yeah, I was gonna say he did
game
it
in
the
2.5
quarters
games that he played.
He already did it through 4 weeks last year, and what really did me in, what convinced me was watching
that was without Jonathan Taylor.
Watching what the Colts offense did without Anthony Richardson, without Jonathan Taylor, and then with Jonathan Taylor too, but with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, who I know he's a fun character and he's not bad for a backup, but he's still Gardner Minshew. But watching what Shane Steichen did with that offense with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, every Colts game I watched, I didn't give a fuck what Gardner Minshew did. I was just sitting there watching and thinking, "Oh my God, if Anthony Richardson was at quarterback right now." That's all, and the real thing that sold me was whenever I watched I mean, you know, it was the Rams game, so clearly I watched it closely. But whenever the Rams and the Colts played each other, and the show that Anthony Richardson put on the second half of that football game to bring the Colts back into the game, I was like, yeah, this dude's a fucking baller. Like he's legit, like, and Shane Steichen is also legit.
Like I know it's all about like health too, and that's kind of like the main question point is like, can he stay healthy?
Yeah, it's your favorite quote. It's your favorite quote. What's your favorite quote, Landon?
Your greatest ability is availability.
There it is. There it is.
But because he kind of struggled a little bit with that at Florida too. He had some injury history, you know, there. But if he can stay healthy, which I think he will, I think this was just kind of like a freak accident. But
yeah, I agree.
I do think it is actually kind of a little bit more beneficial in an aspect of like now he has a year under, like he understands the offense in such a much better way to where he's going to go out there and he's going to understand what he's calling, what, you know, these guys are supposed to be doing. This is a guy too that like these guys in the building, they rave about. Like this guy's always got his iPad with him. He's always studying. He's always asking questions. Like guy's work ethic is off the charts. So you combine the work ethic with, you know, the athletic ability, which we all know, you know, the arm strength, the arm
off the charts.
Yeah, it's just like he just hit so many boxes that like if he can just stay healthy, that's the only question mark. If he can just stay healthy, like
the sky's the fucking limit, dude.
Yeah, like this dude literally could be like a better like I know this is like
a better version of Cam Newton.
I was gonna say a better version of Josh Allen.
Yeah, listen,
he's like a faster version of what Josh Allen is.
Here's a couple things on,
like if Josh Allen could run almost in the 4.3s, I think that's kind of what you're looking at.
A couple things for the Colts offense,
which is dumb.
Couple of things for the Colts offense going forward, and you know this next year and even possibly into the future, is with Anthony Richardson getting hurt. It's like you said, Lynn. It's probably the best thing that could happen because being drafted that high, you get forced into starting. You know, blah blah blah. Right now, he gets injured. He actually has to learn the NFL way of doing things.
Everything slows down.
Well, not only coming in, you know. Coming into the building in an NFL atmosphere is way different than coming into a building in college, right? So he gets to learn that whole thing for a full year instead of being the guy, right? Even though he's still the guy.
And that's another good thing about Shane Steichen being the head coach is like Shane Steichen's not going to get hired as head coach somewhere else. Like,
correct. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be there for at least another year or two. Right, but then
I mean, I would say at least another 6 because that's what's on his contract. But
right, but unless something crazy happens, right?
Yeah.
But we're talking about billionaires that just don't give two shits about anything other than being billionaires.
They could do something stupid. Is very big.
Well, Irsay cares about other things, but it's not football. Anyway.
No, Irsay cares deeply about football. That dude loves football. Like
The one point I will make is what we didn't get to see this year, especially in fantasy, was what can Alex Pierce absolutely be, right? And with Anthony Richardson, with that cannon that he holds on that right arm, can Alex Pierce be that dude? Because we know that he can get open. There's not very many people that can cover him. Well, when you have an Anthony Richardson back there and it's not Gardner Minshew, there's a chance that Alec Pierce, he may not be open, but Richardson might throw him open.
Yeah, I mean, like, and like, this is a grain of salt because I'm not like the biggest Alec Pierce guy. Just because, like, and I had an issue even with the draft pick, like at the time.
By no means am I saying that he's the dude.
Well, here's the thing.
You have to have that field stretcher, and if he can try to be a field stretcher, that'd be fine.
Yeah, like here's my issue with stuff like this is like, whenever you have a guy that like in college, and like we're talking about, like, I've got an Alec Pierce card right here.
You should give that away. You should give that away next year when Alec Pierce scores a touchdown. You should give that one away.
But
you hater.
This is like he was very, like, he really only did like one thing in college, and that was go deep.
9 rounds.
And
I said this shit whenever we did rookie rankings back in the day.
And I mean, whenever like things just get that much tougher, and like his route running to me is not like, he's not a guy that really gets open. Like he's not gonna break guys off. Like if you're, I hate to call people one trick ponies, but like if you're a one trick pony coming into the NFL, that one trick most of the time
it's got to be really good.
And it's not going to work at that level. So you got to have multiple. Like the guy I'm more excited about is Josh Downs. Like,
that's a no brainer. But I was
so I think really like I think they add a wide receiver, whether it's in free agency or the draft. I think they take a wide receiver this year that just naturally takes over that. Like, I think Alec Pierce has a valuable role in the offense, like, because like you said, he can be a guy that can stretch the field and stuff like that. So by any means, I don't think they move on from him, or like he's not going to be a valuable part. But as far as like wide receiver 2 being on the field every snap, I think he's a guy that's very like matchup dependent. And
fair.
Whenever, because Michael Pittman's going to be back, he's either going to sign a deal or they're going to tag him. Josh Downs is going to be there. So I think they actually, depending on how the draft falls, whether, they have Brock Bowers or not, who knows. But I mean, I do really think that they get aggressive because they've got a ton of money. They've got all their draft picks. They know who their quarterback is. They know who their coach is. You got a quarterback now on a rookie deal. I think this is the time to get aggressive. And I really do think they look to add a like pure, wide receiver 1A with Michael Pittman, or wide receiver 1B with Michael Pittman's 1A. You got Josh Downs, obviously the tight end room. And then I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be back. They've got a top 3 offensive line, in football. And I think they go for that wide receiver spot, maybe add that tight end spot depending on how the draft falls. And then I think it's going to be all defense. Like, I think they invest in the defense. And then I think it's, you're taking off as long as Anthony Richardson stays healthy. But because they did, like when Anthony Richardson played, even just in the limited snaps, they were top 10 in the NFL in explosive play rate. Like they created so many explosive plays with Richardson on the field. And there's a lot of times in the NFL that like, even whenever because these guys on defense get paid too. Like you're going to have 3 and outs. You're going to have.
No, I thought they were there for free.
You would think sometimes.
You would think, depending on how some people talk about it, but
ID free. ID
free.
Like
you're going to have drives that stall. Like you're not always going to be able to do that. But the great equalizer is explosive plays. Like if you can get an explosive play and either get into field goal range or get a touchdown out of it, you're putting up points. And that's really what I think Shane Steichen does better than really only a few guys in the NFL, is his ability to manufacture explosive plays.
He's such an underrated play caller, man.
And get points. If you look at EPA, like, so there's a statistic where it's like EPA by play. EPA per play based on like play calls. Like how does your coach get this much separation for his wide receivers, this much for his tight ends, explosive play rate. It all kind of gets like grouped together in one stat. And Shane Steichen was like third on the list in that.
Yeah. It was like Mike McDaniel, Shane Steichen, Andy Reid,
Shanahan,
Sean It was the names you would expect to see. And then Shane Steichen.
Steichen was up there with those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the one move that happened last year going into this year, that affected the Eagles than anything else, right?
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
I think that was something, that may have been the one move out of the whole offseason last year, coaches, players, whatever, that affected one team in the negative way.
Yeah.
Was Steichen leaving, Philly
that
and going to Indy.
Was a fucking mess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the only thing that was different was Shane Steichen wasn't there.
Well, I mean, there was a few things different.
All those easy plays were gone, So
well, yeah.
I'll be curious.
The personnel was all relatively the same. Like everybody else came back. Shane Steichen was really the only one that didn't come back. Like even the guy that they upgraded to offensive coordinator when Shane Steichen left, everybody thought hey, we're good. Pieces like hey, we're.
It wasn't Matt Patricia, was it?
Pieces to the puzzle. No, I never saw a pencil behind the guy's ear, so I don't think it was Matt Patricia.
It was Brian Johnson.
Yeah, but like everybody preseason, and myself included, I did not. Whenever I was considering things for fantasy purposes in the Eagles' offense, I did not factor in the loss that Shane Steichen presented to the Eagles' offense enough. I thought the Eagles' offense would still be able to move forward and be just fine. The players were all the same. The offensive line was all relatively the same. Everything was the same for the Eagles offense other than Shane Steichen was not there. And my God, was it not obvious that Shane Steichen was not there by the time we got halfway through the year? That offense did not resemble. The only thing that was fucking successful was the tush push.
Well, it wasn't. I don't think it was. Well, I guess in fantasy, it was obvious to some fantasy analysts halfway through the year. But to the normal NFL viewer, it wasn't obvious until it went from 10-1 to 10 I mean, you know what I mean? So
they hit their struggle.
Yeah. When they hit that struggle, we went 1-6, 1-7, including the playoff game against the Bucks to end the year.
Yep.
After looking at a
they didn't have an identity.
No, they didn't. I mean,
they
didn't have an identity from the running game to the passing game to a blocking game.
Well, that was another thing that
after that Buffalo loss.
All season, the shit, like week 1, the Eagles' run game was pretty much non-existent. Week 2, DeAndre Swift burst on the scene. Like, man, this guy looks like the DeAndre Swift that we all like his fantasy
we all wanted.
And then you fast forward like 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks down the year, whatever the stretch was, and they stopped getting DeAndre Swift involved.
Almost like they brought the Detroit offensive coaching staff over.
Yeah, it's like,
wait, time out. Wait,
somebody in here that hates this guy.
What was Detroit doing so good with DeAndre Swift? Oh, not using him. That's what we need to do. We need to do that more. We need to not use this guy more because he's killing every other team.
He was so very clearly better than every running back in that running back room. Like Kenneth Gainwell, no, miss me with that shit. Send that man to the UFL. Kenneth Gainwell is not it. He's not an NFL running back. DeAndre Swift.
That's crazy coming from you.
Could be.
I was never a Kenneth Gainwell fan. You know who a guy was a fan of though? Rashad Penny. And man, that guy's cooked. That guy's cooked, and it sucks to say the injuries have finally caught up to him. He had up to this point in his career, he had always been so good whenever he was able to find time on the field. But I guess that last injury
he wasn't better than Chris Carson.
No, he wasn't. He didn't have the love and support of that either. But before we get out of here, we're approaching 2 hours. Yeah. I think it's pretty obvious who my pick is, but I want to get 2 things. I want to get who wins the game and who's Super Bowl MVP from both of you guys. And then I'll give mine last because I feel like it's not very that suspenseful.
Look, like we got a guest on.
Gator J,
Do you want me to
please.
go first? All right.
Yeah. Who wins the game? Who's Super Bowl MVP?
I think the Chiefs win the game, and I think the score is going to be 24-21. MVP for me is going to be maybe a little surprising. Isaiah Pacheco.
Ooh, okay. I like that. And so you're taking Chiefs money line too then, right? Because
I'm taking the under, taking the Chiefs money line. Yeah, give me all of that.
49ers are favored by 2.
Last time I checked. The line just dropped. I guess it was today. It looked like it. Yeah, it's dropped to 2. Over unders at 47.5. That hasn't changed that much. Yeah, I mean, yeah, give me all of the under, and then give me go ahead and get the money line. So I'm going to go ahead and add it, make it 6 legs, turn that into 8 legs, and we're going to go to plus 25,000. It just so you understand how 25,000 works. $100 bet gets you $25,000. So
money.
Makes it simple. I just don't see how the NFL scriptwriters are gonna leave. No,
bitch.
That's what I was gonna say. So my pick,
Landon's like, you just took my whole flow.
Yeah, that's Drake.
No, I just listen. Patrick Mahomes, I just don't think they can allow the defense for the Chiefs is the second best scoring defense in the league. We saw what they did last week to one of the best offenses in the league, in the Ravens, a future MVP. And basically, look, they didn't lose, they didn't go and win the game. The Chiefs didn't. The Ravens lost that game, but it was up against that offense or that defense of the Chiefs. I just don't think that and I'm not going to call him a system quarterback, but I don't think Brock Purdy I don't think Kyle Shanahan is going to be able to overcome Andy Reid.
I love it. Really? Landon, winner, MVP.
Oh, yeah. It's Kansas City is going to win the game. There's too much money in the Taylor Swift thing. There's too many viewers. Just being realistic, it is. And, all eyes are going to be on that. They're not going to this is just the perfect.
Yeah. Who gives a shit about the product on the field? Taylor Swift cares. So that's going to turn.
That's right. So, yeah, Kansas City's going to win the game.
So Travis Kelce's going to win the MVP then, right?
He is not because he's not a quarterback. Quarterbacks always win MVP. Patrick Mahomes is going to be MVP regardless. It doesn't matter. Mahomes.
That's the only thing I'm going to disagree with you on, because I think that the Chiefs turned this into, like I said earlier, about the Brandon Ayuk thing being a game script. So the 49ers are going to be passing. I think the Chiefs are going to be running. And I think that's where Isaiah Pacheco. I don't think Patrick Mahomes put the ball in the air more than 30 times.
If
Damian Williams couldn't win the MVP the last time the Chiefs and 49ers won the Super Bowl, they played the Super Bowl.
Even when the Colts,
Pacheco's going to have to go crazy.
Yeah,
he can go for what? 140-3? 140-3.
Oh yeah, sign me up. He's MVP. Yeah, but
Mahomes didn't even put the ball in the air for. He puts the ball in the air for 28 times. What's he doing? He ain't doing nothing.
That's something we haven't really even talked about that much, and I hate it because we're literally approaching 2 hours. But
and I gotta get off here. I gotta go to bed.
I know, but the way that people have played the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes over the last couple of years, this year included, and just forcing Pat Mahomes to dump. You got the whole cover 2 and the whole all that shit. Mahomes has been forced basically to dink and dunk, and his numbers look a lot different for the last couple of years compared to the first few years, because defenses are changing the way they play. Rightfully so. And then he doesn't have Tyreek Hill anymore. So if you you talk about over unders, I think if you want to bet the Pat Mahomes over passing attempts, I think that's a great bet, because he's going to be the 49ers will force make him dink and dunk his way down the field. And I think
as long as they can tackle, because that's the great thing about, like, people talk shit on Brock Purdy, yards after catch, merchant, all that kind of stuff. The Chiefs actually average more yards after catch, even with that shitty receiver core, than the 49ers do.
That's more points to my point, though, is you have to take into effect how defenses are playing Pat Mahomes versus how defenses are playing Brock Purdy. Like, if you're preparing for Brock Purdy, would you rather let him beat you underneath with the weapons that they have and the abilities they have yard after catch, or would you rather ask Brock Purdy to beat you deep? Whereas with Pat Mahomes, would you rather be like, hey, we're going to give you deep shots all game, or we're going to make you just fucking dink and dunk your way down the field? Like, the defenses are not playing Brock Purdy the same way they're playing Pat Mahomes, which leads to different ways to folks that are paying attention to that can give us an edge in the betting game in terms of, the over-unders you want to take and things like that. But I think it's something you have to pay attention to. It's not just black and white, like everything's equal across the board either.
Nothing's ever black and white in football, man.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Except when they hand the script out. It's black and white.
That is clear cut.
Exactly. So
everybody but us
has a long-winded way
for
me to say sports are rigged. Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. Taylor Swift's going to celebrate on the field.
What other quarterback has ever been walked up to after winning 2 Super Bowls in 5 years? And the first question that somebody asked him is, well, how do you compare yourself to Tom Brady? When do you think you're going to get your 7th? That was one of the first questions that was asked to Patrick Mahomes today.
To his credit,
he was his perfect response. Yep. Was like, I got to get the 3 first before I can even think about 7.
Ask me that question again in 15 years. If I'm starting with 7 by then we can talk.
But if the script hasn't already been written, then come on.
So we got Chiefs and Pacheco for Gator
Chiefs
J.
and Pacheco, yep.
Landon, we got Chiefs and Mahomes, right?
Yep.
And then I'm in agreement. I think it's Chiefs and Mahomes as well. So we have a sweep, which means that my nightmare is alive and well. We didn't get to get Jared's picks before he left.
Jared also had KC.
Okay, so we that does not make me feel any better. I was really hoping he picked the 49ers so that our show would not be a clean sweep.
No, he understands.
That is a that is a curse that I don't want to be a part of. I do not want to be, thankfully we don't have like a graphic to where like it has our picks.
He understands. Look, we got players betting on games. We have officials,
as they should be able to.
Yeah,
officials maybe not, but players should be able to. Maybe it's a hot take. Players should be able to bet on games they're not a part of.
100%. I mean, if you're going to play a game in Vegas, number 1. If you're going to have a team in Vegas, number 2. I mean,
that's another thing.
You are absolutely. Listen, if you can, and I don't know if y'all have seen this or not or on Twitter, but if you can walk into the media center at NFL opening night and there are gambling machines in the NFL media center, then there should be no issues. If you have a sports book inside a stadium, there should be no issue. Do we need to keep talking about this? Because there should be no issues.
It is common sense to all of us, Gator. It's just not common sense apparently to the decision makers of the NFL. But yeah.
All right.
Landon, take us home, bro.
Yep. So if you enjoyed all the talk about sports being rigged, if you enjoyed all the talk about Brock Purdy, being a really good quarterback, Super Bowl caliber quarterback. If you enjoyed about Taylor Swift and the gambling, then this is the podcast for you. Hope you guys join us. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you get notified when we go live, because we will be going live, especially because the work just begins for me because draft season is right around the corner, which is whenever I end up working the hardest. Like, the season's the easy part. Now I, now I actually have to go to work. And, that's really it. So we are the 3-Man Rush podcast. Thank you, Gator J, for hopping on. You are welcome anytime. And, Jared also sends his regards. He had to run. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one.